Hey, all y'all. History in the Mirror back with you again. We are going to talk about liberty today. We're going to define it and go through some establishment of liberty by founding fathers and other things dealing with liberty. We're going to look at state mottos and just kind of see how deeply rooted in our nation liberty is and how much we should prevent it from being uprooted. Okay. And yeah, patriot, freedom loving Americans everywhere, patriotic, freedom loving Americans everywhere. I think we'll really like this. So here's the deal, we're going to embellish our liberty discussion with some awesome music. Yeah, gives you kind of a nostalgic, patriotic feeling. Anyway, here we go. Liberty, defined the state of being free within society from oppressive restrictions imposed by authority on one's way of life, behavior, or political views. Throughout the history of this country, liberty has been a very powerful, very strongly held to belief. State mottos, there's several states that talk about liberty in their state motto. I'm just going to go through a few. Delaware state motto, liberty and independence, adopted in 1847. Iowa, where I grew up, our liberties we prize and our rights we will maintain, 1847. Massachusetts, by the sword we seek peace, but peace only under liberty, 1775. New Hampshire, live free or die, 1945. New Jersey, liberty and prosperity, 1928. It's the years that I'm giving you here are the adoption of that particular state's motto. North Dakota, liberty and union, now and forever, one and inseparable, 1863. Pennsylvania, virtue, liberty, and independence, 1875. We can't help but, when we talk about liberty and the founding fathers and the documents that made this nation what it was and the birth of this great, amazing country, we can't forget about the preamble to the Declaration of Independence, which is as thus: we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Let's remember that. You know, I think a lot of times the preamble of the Declaration is brought forth, and we really kind of forget about the second part of that, but I think that's pretty critical. I think we've kind of gotten away from that in our country right now. You know, it's just they're doing what they want, and until we as people rise up and vote, and again, I am not for armed rebellion. That is an absolute last resort when everything else has failed. That is it. Right now, our action should be threefold. Write your representatives, write your congresspeople in Washington. Let them know if you are dissatisfied with the way our liberties are being, way our liberties are being strangled and taken away. All right, write these people. Okay. 2, if you're not registered to vote, get registered to vote now. You can. I'm not exactly sure if you can do it online or not. I'd have to look. If not, head down to the post office. I think they can make arrangements to get you in, even though right now everything is like social distancing and quarantine and all this other stuff. Number 3, vote. Get involved in your state, county, city governments. Get involved in the school boards. Get involved with what your children are being taught. Get involved with what laws are being made to govern you as a resident of the state you live in, the city that you live in, etc., etc., etc. Get involved. I think it's the duty of every American who loves liberty and freedom to get involved in politics in that way. Now, the current political system in the United States, to me, is ridiculous. I think it's just absolutely waste. But we need to be involved as people who love the freedoms that we have. We need to be involved, and we need to get involved, and we need to stay involved. Okay, so get registered to vote, do your civic duty, go out and get involved in your local governments, talk to the people who are in those governments and let them know, hey, I think this is a bad idea. I think this is a good idea, whatever your support for whichever, or your lack of support for whichever law, ordinance, whatever. Okay. Going to go through some quotes from some founding fathers now in the establishment of liberty as a core value in the establishment of the United States of America. Patrick Henry was before the Virginia Assembly in 1775. He said this: "Is life so dear or peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery?" That's a good question. "Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death." Thomas Jefferson said this: "The God who gave us life gave us liberty at the same time. He also said our attachment to no nation on earth should supplant our attachment to liberty." Let's look at George Washington, first president. "Liberty, when it begins to take root, is a plant of rapid growth." I think we're kind of seeing a little bit of that now with the restrictions that we've had. People are kind of starting to wake up a little bit and say, okay, what really is happening here? And they're beginning to give some pushback. So I think it's being heard. George Washington also said, "We should not look back unless it is to derive useful lessons from past errors and for the purpose of profiting by dearly bought experience." And in all honesty, I kind of think that could be a mission statement for what I'm looking to do here with this broadcast, History in the Mirror. I'm looking to use the lessons of history and say, are we heading down this direction again? And to be educating people on the direction that was taken and say, hey, you know what? Let's look at this in the light of where we're at right now. Look in the mirror of history and see, are we there? Are we at this point where these particular people in this nation were at this particular time? Okay. Next time we're going to go through some, on the next podcast, I'll just preface this just a little bit. We're going to go through a lot of examples of different nations and their going away from liberty and how it kind of happened over a gradual amount of time. All right, and we're going to get into some good stuff next time around. I'd be remiss if we did not say, talk about the Pledge of Allegiance, which we all learned in grammar school, in grade school. If we are advanced in years enough to have had that in our life, goes as thus: I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Recue the patriotic music, because it's amazing. So let's think about some of these things. Let's think about liberty. Let's think about how much do we value the liberties that we have. We're coming up pretty quick on Memorial Day, looking at a couple weeks. And Memorial Day weekend will be here. I'm going to be doing probably 2 or 3 special broadcasts over Memorial Day. Part of my heart is honoring the fallen from all of our conflicts, because basically, here's the thing, we can do this, folks. We can go back and forth on this particular war and it was wrong, and that particular war and it was wrong. And, we could sit and split hairs over that all day long. Think about the core reason. I'm going to just look at the First and Second World Wars here. Yeah, okay, all right. Follow the money. I get it, okay? But here's the thing. You start with aggression. You start with a nation wanting to steal other nations' liberties, wanting to oppress, wanting to conquer, wanting to control. Okay? And then you end up with liberty-loving people all over the world going in and bleeding in severe numbers to reestablish the liberties that were lost. Okay? To free a nation or nations. Okay? To reestablish that person's right to choose, to reestablish that person's right to have liberty. Okay? And if you really look at the Second World War also, to stamp out tyranny. The attempt was made at that in Korea. They were helping the South from being overtaken by the communist North, which ended in a stalemate. And in Vietnam, trying to help the free South Vietnamese keep from getting run over by the North. Vietnam is now communist. Okay, and again, we can split hairs until we're blue in the face on all this different stuff, and someday we might go into some of that. But today, just kind of looking at it as we had people that died in every single one of those conflicts. All right, and my heart is to remember each and every one of them. And I just really we're gonna start digging into some of that, and you think about. There's a bunch of military cemeteries in Europe, one in North Africa and one in the Philippines, are overseas cemeteries. And we're going to get into a discussion about that too, and all those kind of things dealing with these. But we just can't, our people in uniform are too precious for us to sit and split hairs over the reasons why. They went, some of them were coerced through the draft. A lot volunteered. Like right now we're on a all volunteer military. I volunteered for the military. And you saw that surge in patriotism right after 9/11 when the towers were attacked and they killed 2,600 Americans, or however many it was, probably more than that, close to 3,000. And you saw that surge of patriotism. You saw that coming from people who hate liberty, who hate the United States, who hate freedom. And we had people stand up and say, I'll go put my life on the line for that. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Man, we can't let go of that. We can't lose sight of that. Anyway, so that's coming up. Be meditating on liberty. Think about it. Just think about the definition that we used in the beginning of the video. Think about some of the quotes and do some research. See if you can find some other things that speak to you, and then let me know. Say, hey, dude, you missed this one, and put it in the comments. Put it right down there in the comments and let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Or put it on the Facebook. I'll be sharing this on the Facebook. Put it on there, however you would like to. Let's engage. Let's get some conversation going about this. Okay. Love every one of you. I appreciate you listening. Appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to a passionate old history dude try to stir some good things up in the people. So love you all. We'll see you next time around.